When you hit a roadblock in the way, is your instinct to give up, or do you jump into problem-solving mode? We all run into circumstances in our lives that throw us off, and our attitudes make all the difference between succeeding and truly failing. Join Kathy in a discussion on thinking differently about failure. Review of the week from Joanne. I was binge listening to your podcast today while weeding, cleaning, and walking. I wish I had had a notebook handy while listening. I binged about 12 podcasts. I was commenting to myself, shaking my head in agreement and laughing throughout. You do a great job, and you are a terrific, polished speaker.
Aw, thank you, Joanne. So very sweet. Hello, my friends. I'm Kathy Rhodes. Thank you for joining me again today. Whether you're binge watching or listening for the first time or kind of hunting and packing for whatever's interesting you, thank you for tuning in. Today, let's think differently about one of our attitude angles, problem solving. So if you haven't heard, there are 4 attitude angles, and I'm not going to talk about all 4. I do talk about them in other episodes, but the 4 angles are positive, persistent, progressive, and problem solving. Today I want to talk about the problem solving angle. We all have attitudes, right? But when it comes to problems or issues, what is your attitude to solve that problem? There are many, many great examples in history that have such amazing attitudes toward problems. Thomas Edison is one of my favorites. Thomas Edison has a quote. He said that he did not ever fail. He says, I have not failed 10,000 times. I've successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work when I make a light bulb. That attitude is truly what makes him this amazing problem solver and amazing inventor. Another example that I have in my history is my grandpa. My grandpa had this technical mind. He was the fix-it man. He fixed TVs, the tubes in television sets, way back when TVs were first introduced on the market. You know, in the You Have Superpower online learning program, I tell a story about how he also fixed his Instacube. Yep, Instacube. Well, this is a kind of an electronic frame. You know, what are those where they show the pictures, those frames? But it's linked to your Instagram account. So Grandpa had an Instagram account, and we would post pictures there, and he'd turn it on, and he'd see fresh pictures of the family all the time. And it broke. And he's the one who troubleshooted it. Now, granted, he didn't physically fix it. I was there kind of monkeying around with the settings. But his mind was so sharp at 95 years old that he was able to kind of talk me through the issues he was seeing or the issues that might fix it. By the way, I do know that my aunt does listen to my podcast, and so does my mom, and I probably just got Grandpa's age wrong, but he was in his 90s, okay? He was in his 90s when he was troubleshooting the Instacube with me. He had this amazing troubleshooting mind. Do you see how just these 2 examples have a real unique attitude? They can't quit. They're not going to settle for defeat. If something's failing or defeating them, they just know they haven't found the solution yet. They will figure out a solution. They've got that drive. Their unique perspective, how they look at problems, well, this is fueling for them. They don't look at problems thinking we want to avoid problems in life. They know that problems are going to exist. So when problems come their way, rather than getting angry about it, rather than throwing an attitude, they throw their problem-solving attitude out there to figure it out. You know, spoiler alert, for those of you that might not be aged in life yet, your car is going to break down. You probably are going to get sick someday. There are going to be misunderstandings with people. You know, these are some of the problems that we're going to face in life. Don't get mad when they happen. Get fixing. Get in that mindset that, hey, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to fix it. Sometimes we face problems in life that no one else can fix for us. We can't take it to a mechanic that can fix our life problems because they, the doctors, the mechanics, the parents, they don't always know those missing gaps that are in our minds. I always say to the kids, I always say to my husband, nobody cares about you as much as you do. Because nobody knows really everything going on in your mind. Nobody can see the gaps. You, me, we really need to become the best doctor or investigator for ourselves. We need to problem solve. Sometimes we struggle through things and we can't even communicate really how we're struggling. Here's an example. I remember being really young, maybe 8 years old, and I went to bed and my heart was like racing. My mom's a nurse, so I remember going downstairs and asking her to get her stethoscope out and check my heart. I was worried there was something wrong with my heart. Well, from her medical knowledge, my heart was fine. She listened to my heart. She says, I think it sounds really strong. It sounds great. I think you're fine. She didn't hear anything weird on her stethoscope. It was just something I could feel. Now, was it made up in my head? Did I just not want to go to bed? Was I making an excuse to get out of bed? Did I really feel something? Well, yeah, maybe. But now that I'm a few years older and I've learned my body a little more, now I bet what I was feeling was because I had sugar before bed. Every time I have sugar, my heart races. I feel like almost asthmatic. And there's this sugar creates an asthma type of effect. Well, that bowl of ice cream before bed probably created my heart scare. But I couldn't even communicate this. I couldn't communicate it to my mom. I couldn't communicate it to anybody. It's just something that I figured out through life. I remember too, I was in grade school and the teacher would talk about Washington, D.C., and they always would talk about the East Coast. And I was really good at geography, right? At least I thought I was. And I always wondered, why do they talk about the East Coast when they're talking about Washington, D.C.? Because Washington is on the West Coast. Yeah, I was a little off in my geography. Washington, D.C. is not in the state of Washington. I remember this revelatory moment where I'm like, what? I have to reprogram my brain. I have to rethink about how I see our state or our capital of the United States of America. I couldn't communicate that. I didn't know there was that gap. I didn't understand where my misunderstanding was. I had to continue to learn. I had to continue to try things. I had to continue to investigate. Same thing a few years ago. I had this lip infection. My lips were like swelling. I mean, it was like I had Botox. They were just swelling, but they were also peeling. They were not very appealing at all. And I went to the doctor finally because this is just weird and I want to get rid of it. And the doctor said, well, what do you put on it? And I told her I've been putting on Vaseline and I've got this chapstick, really good chapstick from Sweden. It's all natural, but that's not it. Well, she gave me some steroid type of lotion for my lips, and you know what? The more I investigated, the more I troubleshooted it, it was that chapstick that I kind of didn't tell the doctor about. My favorite chapstick that I've been using for years, that I thought for sure this couldn't be it, that I didn't tell the nurse and the doctor about, I figured out was really the problem. Must have been a bad batch or something. Nurses and teachers, they can't figure out our problem all the time because we can't always fully explain the issue or we don't give all the details. We have to continue to be those investigators. We have to find our gaps. You know, this is great when we look back on experiences where we've been successful. This is great when we look back when we were really good problem solvers. When I can look back at my 8-year-old self, or I can look back to a year and a half ago when I finally figured out what was causing this lip inflammation. But what about adult issues that we're in the middle of right now? You know, adult problems. It could be an addiction, whether it's smoking or alcohol or sugar or snacking, or it could be something that I've been experiencing lately. I need to eat more protein and more fiber, and it's not easy. At the end of the day, I need 100 grams of each, and I've got 25. Seriously. I'm in the middle of this right now. I'm in the middle of my problem solving. And I've got attitudes and I've got emotions and I've got irritations. I whine and I complain and I grumble and, oh, why isn't it just fixed? Why isn't my new habit already there? Why isn't my addiction gone? I think of Matthew Perry, who recently passed away, and the addictions that he had. Maybe he had until the day he died. Maybe he had it and was able to fix it. He was, his goal was to help others. Those addictions can take over our mind. They can take over everything about us. Now, I could give you ideas that might have worked for me based on whatever your addiction challenge is. Maybe it is that you want to eat more protein, and I can tell you a good protein powder that I use. Or maybe it is that you want to stop snacking or you want to stop drinking alcohol, and I can tell you what works for me. Or you could complete some treatment programs, but there's a good chance that it's not going to work for you. It's a good chance that my fix isn't your fix. You have to problem solve. You have to find your own solution. You have to be your investigator. You have to be your doctor. You have to be your teacher. You have to be your coach. You have to be your therapist. And you know what? It's hard. It is so hard. And it stinks. So frustrating, so mind-consuming. There's no answer I can give you besides the fact you need to continue to press forward and allow your problem-solving attitude to take over. My mind definitely gets consumed when I'm trying to change a habit. And that's what any kind of addiction is it's a habit. My mind gets consumed with it. Many times I want to just forget about it and go back to my old habits. Here's one that I'm in the middle of right now. I love my sweets, but I'm really doing a good job purging the sweets. I really love ice cream. But when we moved into our new house 2 months ago, I vowed that I'm not buying ice cream and putting it in my freezer. If I want ice cream, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to drive 10 miles. I'm going to go into town. I'm going to be very intentional. I'm not bringing it back to my freezer. And that's working. That is working for me. Might not work for you. We all have to be our own investigator. We have to be our best advocate. And it's not easy. And we're going to want to kind of throw in the towel some days and say, forget it. It's cheaper just to go to the grocery store and buy a little tub of ice cream than to go buy a little scoop of ice cream at the ice cream shop. Forget it. Don't throw in the towel. Don't go back to your addiction habit. Keep pressing forward. This is what's building our problem-solving attitude. This is what's making us stronger. This is our superpower. So what do? We keep searching. Remember, Thomas Edison and my grandpa, they had a problem-solving attitude. They were expecting problems. When that urge comes for a bowl of ice cream, you know what? Hit it square in its nose and say, bring it on. Bring it on. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to continue to figure out something that'll work for me. Adopt a troubleshooting mind and expect failure. Expect failure as well. To troubleshooters, those are tweaks that we need to make until a true solution is found. We're just tweaking. By the way, we're tweaking and not twerking, okay? We're going to just tweak our habits. We're going to tweak our systems. Those little adjustments, little pivots, little creative options. That's where we're going to find our solution. Sometimes the solution is in the thing that you thought it would be, and sometimes the solution is in the thing that you thought it would not be. Kind of like my favorite lipstick or chapstick. You are your best doctor. You are your best therapist. You are the best investigator for yourself. Don't quit on yourself, my friends. I hope that today's topic has challenged you to really think differently about your attitude toward problems, your attitude toward problem solving. Remember to expect problems and then go find your solution. Be great today, my friends.